I'll go through all the weapons before I head in. The Hardlight Catalyst I don't have done yet.
Did you tell Liz what difficulty it will be?
No, she didn't respond, but honestly, it won't make too big a difference. I'll just do both.
Fucking evidence, bro.
Actually, as soon as I finish the normal mode, my Hardlight Catalyst will be done, but I won't pop it until we're done. So, first off, we have my Kinetic weapon, which I'll be using for mobility, the Lightweight Frame Dire Promise. I won't be killing anyone with it, I'll use it for mobility. For my energy weapon, the Titular Hardlight. It starts off on Void Element, and thankfully enough, that's the element that 0 Hour starts with. The captains will die to the Falling Guillotine, here's the roll, Tempered Edge, Swordsmasters, Tireless Blade and Whirlwind, with a boss spec and Impact Masterwork. For the mods, we have Fallen Barrier, recovery mods, blah blah blah. We have Double Sword Reserves, Enhanced Sword Scavenger, and Fallen Armaments.
Must be nice having Fallen Barrier. Lol.
For the first class we're going to be running into it, the top tree Nightstalker, Vortex Grenade, Triple Jump, Marksman Dodge. When we get far enough, I'll be switching to Arcstrider for increased mobility, which is bottom tree for the mobility. After that, it doesn't really matter, and that'll be the roll. And let me load into her exit. We're going to load into normal 0 Hour first.
I didn't realize that the bottom Arcstrider gave you extra mobility.
It gives you increased maximum sprint speed. Alright, let's head in. Also, yes, for the exotic, I have the Stompies. Honestly, it doesn't make too big a difference what exotic you use. I could be going with my Boots of the Exile. It honestly won't make a difference in the long run which exotic I have on. Except for when I get later on, when I get to the final boss room, I'll be switching to Orpheus Rigs for the sake of Tether. Tether is super effective against the servitor bosses. Here we go.
It's super effective.
Obviously, we're going to skip this first dreg because whatever his name is kills it. To use dodge to get through there fast, we're not using any macros for this one. Hardlight's damage is obviously not amazing anymore. Personally, you could be way better with anything else but Hardlight. Probably Risk Runner would be your better option, which is free to play, may I bring up. You can get Risk Runner free to play by doing one Nightfall and a few other things. There's no reason why you shouldn't have Risk Runner unless you're super lazy. Because Nightfall the Ordeal is match made, so there's no reason why you shouldn't be doing it.
It was not match made.
Nightfall the Ordeal at 750 is match made.
Oh.
And 10...
And 1020.
Anything higher than that's not, though.
Yeah. Once again, now that we've killed that room, we're going to switch to Dire Promise after switching the element on our Hardlight. Because this next room has Arc Shanks and Solar Heavy Shanks. Obviously, these Arc Shanks aren't going to be much of a problem for our Hardlight. We're going to try and get some ricochet bounces off of it. Honestly, if we don't, it's not a big deal. Most of the damage we're getting on these Shanks is going to come from ricochet shot. Come from the shield breaking. Now, the thing that'll take us the longest to kill, aside from the Heavy Shanks, will be these Sniper Shanks, because of how far away they are. Due to the Hardlight nerf, it no longer has 0 damage fall off. So now we actually have to be very careful about how many times it takes us to shoot these Shanks. We're going to dodge right through this block, and we're going to jump on top of the old Eververse store, just to kill this last trace of Shank to get a decreased damage fall off. We barely missed a kill, sadly. For this one, I'm going to throw a grenade at this Heavy Shank so I can get my Fallen Armaments off the Vandals that are next to it. And we switch back to Hardlight to kill these Shanks. It's honestly not too bad to kill these Shanks, especially this Heavy Shanks, because Falling Guillotine will pierce through partial shields. At this point, we can switch to Solar Element to be ready for the next room. I think there might be 1 or 2 Shanks still alive on the left side there, but they'll die to Falling Guillotine fast enough. If you have it, you can get the seasonal mod Lucent Blade to make Falling Guillotine even more effective. Lucent Blade is wonderful because even if you're not getting charged with light, it increases the charge speed of your heavy attacks for your swords. Now we're 3 minutes in and we're already at the Spider Walker. So now the main problem is going to be the snipers once again, because they're so far away that our Hardlight will hardly do any damage. You notice that we have Tether, we're going to save that for the servitors, which have Void Shields. Because at all costs, we really want to avoid switching elements on our Hardlight. It just takes too long, especially since we don't have any auto-rifle loaders. because I refuse to have any solar armor.
I'm gonna take us to a hero.
Now, at all costs, we really do want to avoid dying. And dying is very much not cash money, as it'll increase how much time it takes us to get to the next room, and how much more effective can we be if we're dead. Obviously, that should be your main tip for every time you do 0 hour, but you know, sometimes things happen. Now we're close enough to basically melt these Vandals with Hardlight. It still will do damage, so make sure you AD strafe, just for the sake of not getting hit as much. Of course, where you AD strafe is very important, because sometimes Vandals will just auto-hit you. Watch the splash damage from the Spider Walker, obviously. It hurts way too much than you expect it to. And of course, respect servitors. Servitors will hurt them. So these shanks on the bottom floor, we were lucky enough to get a heavy ammo drop. Because we got a heavy ammo drop, I'm going to just take the time to go murder these Vandals with Falling Guillotine, go in this, and switch to Orpheus Rigs. Now, obviously, if you're on console, you can't switch that fast, but I understand. We're going to right-click this servitor. That should just about almost kill the servitor on the left side. 3 left clicks, and now we go ham on the Spider Walker. Keep in mind, we just broke 2 legs, so this Spider Walker is already almost dead. Keep left-clicking just for the ammo conservation. He apparently killed us, but that respawn time will give us enough time to switch back to Stompies and switch to Dire Promise. This is actually a really bad spawn location, considering where the heavy ammo dropped and where we want to go. But that is a-okay. We're just going to run over there with our Dire Promise for mobility's sake. Keep in mind, any lightweight frame will do. We got a second heavy ammo drop, which is really lucky, bringing our ammo capacity to 69. So, what we're going to be doing here, there is a captain in this room. We're going to throw this grenade and murder everything. Now we're going to switch to Hardlight. Obviously, since we died, we actually don't keep the solar element, which is really bad time-wise, because there is a solar shank in here. Thankfully, Falling Guillotine really doesn't care what shield you have, so we're going to go murder that shank with Falling Guillotine in a second here. As long as it doesn't murder us back. Really close there. If it fired one more shot, we were dead. Switch back to our Dire Promise to go for fastness, and we keep running. Now, you may have noticed I still haven't switched back to Arcstrider for mobility. That is because there's still a few more ads we need to kill, and to be honest, there's a door that we need to wait to open for that will just give us enough time to switch to Arcstrider. You can probably guillotine that because it's not a really big loss. We have Tireless Blade after all, so really, any solo kill is just about worth it. We sadly missed the kill on that Vandal. I usually snipe that Vandal, so doing the Hardlight challenge is kind of weird, you know. We ricochet that Dreg for good luck, and now we're at the door that we need to wait to open. Quickly switch to Arcstrider, and right as the door opened, we are out of our menu. Now this is where the difference in Dire Promise really comes in, because this is all mobility. From this point right now, up until around the final boss room, all mobility. You want to get in and out of places. It is normal mode, so do not go through that vent. You want to go through the vent down underneath this airplane thing.
Oh.
Want to go to the vent on our left here, break it open with Hardlight, because it's still a Hardlight challenge. Don't you dare shoot that with your Dire Promise. Don't shoot this vent with your Dire Promise either. Try not to kill yourself with a Hardlight ricochet. I know, it's very hard not to do. We're going to do this cool little swag, where we just hug this wall, we double jump right as this wall goes down, and with the Stompies, we can make it this way. If you don't have Stompies, you can always go to the lower level. You'll lose about maybe 5 seconds, maybe 8. It's not a big loss. Once again, we have Stompies, so we can make these jumps. Mantle. Trust your Mantle. Don't play against your Mantle. Shoot this vent while we're jumping. Mantle it, thankfully. Shoot this vent, and we're onto the fans. Fans are very easy to die on, just because of how the fans are structured. Personally, if you are on mouse and keyboard, this place is a lot easier because it just goes very smoothly. Especially if you know a good movement tech on ledges, where if you jump right as you hit a ledge, you will keep the momentum from those ledges. You can use that in Crucible too, if you ever want to get to a sniping location or a shotgun alley before other players do. Keep in mind, Warlocks will still probably beat you there. We don't need to pull this lever because we don't have anyone else with us, so we can just keep going. Now we're on to Trevor. Trevor is very easy to do if you're fast enough. If you aren't, however, his rotation can fuck you up. So, what we're going to be doing as we enter Trevor, now that we have entered ventilation, he will start moving around. So, once Trevor passes us on this last event, we are going to cover all the levers on the left side, cut through the middle, and hit the right levers, and then immediately dash towards the exit. We're going to go bottom left, bottom right, top right, straight to exit. And if we're fast enough, we won't see Trevor at all, aside from us being behind him. Of course, you will see some electric gates. They're programmed to block you off as soon as you pull this lever. You hear it right there. Now you'll see it right in front of us. We can really just wait for it to run out. To be honest, this part's probably the hardest part of the run if you're not good movement-wise, because if you cut across the middle, it's actually really tricky for no reason. You can hit yourself on a pipe, you can slip off the ledge. There's a lot of things that can go wrong when it comes to jumping across the middle. So, honestly, take it slow. Not too slow that Trevor will pass you by, but just slow enough where you feel comfortable. Titans are super forgiving on this part. Warlocks, however, are not, so RIP Warlocks. Good seeing Warlocks have the combat part easy.
Skill.
Well of Radiance is just about useful everywhere. You can melt the boss and then finish up the rooms, but honestly, in all situations, even if you're a Warlock, don't melt the boss. It just isn't helpful for you because all sides of the room will summon adds, and that will not be helpful in any situation where you're playing against enemies. Don't mind the police cars in the background. That's currently why I'm running 0 hour, actually. Anyways, 10 minutes remaining on the clock. We have plenty of time, personally. Because it's Falling Guillotine and Hardlight, the Spider Walkers, after you hurt the boss quite a bit, will be more of a pain than anything. Now, obviously, I'm fairly certain you guys heard Trevor right there. Don't worry. On this rotation, he goes towards the exit, comes out of the exit, and goes to the left side. So we were A-okay. And that's Trevor. Now, be careful not to alt-tab on this, because if you switch FPS when you're going up this elevator, it can kill you. Since we're on the elevator, it's a perfect time to switch, and if we were at HUDQ, I'd ask for donations, but we are not. This elevator is very slow. Keep in mind when you're running the heroic version that when we get to the vault room, there's a special pattern you need to do. What I like doing when I go down the slope, I actually bounce my head against it so you don't go at terminal speed where you will die as soon as you hit the ground. Personally, for me, it's just safer.
That would have been very helpful previously.
Well, now you're here. Alright, now we're going through the vault. Obviously, the vault since we're on normal mode, it won't have a special area, so we're just gonna hunter jump our way across because it's safe like that. If you're a Warlock, fun fact, if you're a top tree Dawnblade and you Dawnblade skate, you can make it past the vault door without dying. Without needing to enter the secret pattern. Now, for speed's sake, we have 8.5 minutes to finish the final boss room, which is a lot more time than 3-man fire teams, sometimes. So, we're gonna wait 5 seconds in the Tower of Ruins right here to reset our spawn locations. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This will let us respawn in that exact location because it is considered a safe spot. We're gonna pop grenade on that dreg right there so we can get a fallen armaments. Never mind, he didn't want to die, that is A-okay. We're gonna pop invis on this turret so we can not safely right-click it, I guess. Turret died pretty fast. We got a orb of light there, so we got a recuperation proc from our armor 1.0 cloak. Now, basically, what we want to do is ignore the boss until all the adds are dead. If all the adds are not dead, that just means that when you do hurt the boss, there's going to be adds shooting at you, and when you get the boss to enough HP, there will be a lot more adds for you to deal with. That is not cash money. Obviously, if one right-click took out the turret, that's an A-okay spawn. Don't mind the recommended power level. It's a visual bug. Now, obviously, if I were to recommend you to solo 0 hour, I would not recommend you use this loadout at all. Ah, I see, I already failed the challenge. I shot this dire promise on instinct, but that's A-okay. It was 2 shots, so we'll just say challenge failed. Don't worry, the heroic mode, I will avenge myself. Void Shanks are coming out. I believe the next Shanks that are over on the other side. Seems like I've hurt the boss just a little bit too much. So sadly enough here, we don't have a tether. so this server will take forever to die. Personally, what I like doing against this servitor is to use Risk Runner. Risk Runner is an excellent option against a servitor because you get decreased damage reduction from the shanks. So we're gonna hide here for a second. We still have 6 minutes. We have plenty of time. I'm gonna switch to my cloak that does not have apparently Oppressive Darkness. Switch to the other cloak that has Oppressive Darkness. You get Oppressive Darkness from the latest tier of mods from the artifact for this season. Oppressive Darkness is famous everywhere. Really, if you have Tractor Cannon, it's a wonderful substitute to Oppressive Darkness. But that does take up a heavy slot in the exotics, so that's really up to you. My recommended loadout really would obviously be any Kinetic Sniper plus the Risk Runner. Risk Runner is just dependable anywhere there's Fallen. Now, the most dangerous thing you can do right here is what I'm currently doing. I'm trying to sword a server. Thankfully, with low enough HP that I can do a one-shot combo. But don't ever sword a servitor, because they do insane melee damage for no reason. So, we're going to clear out the Arc Shanks here, just for the sake of getting them out of our way. The Arc Shanks are on both of these side runes over here. After we've cleared that out, we're going to switch to Solar. I forgot to switch back onto my Morpheus race. A little bit of time lost, but honestly it's like 3 seconds on mouse and keyboard. It's really no big deal. As you can see, all those Shanks just died. As you can see, don't ever sword a servitor. I even lost that fight even though it was tethered. So don't ever sword a servitor. That will just give us a clean refresh though. I'm gonna just pop it with my hard light. It appears that those Shanks have respawned. Thankfully we died, so we only need to do 1 reload cycle to switch to Arc Element. After we've killed those Shanks, we can go ahead and hurt the boss just a little bit to summon the Spider Walkers. There's the Spider Walkers. The boss booped us. We got a late boop, sadly, so we can't get a really cool movement tech that I would have loved to show you guys. Where basically, if you get stomped by a boss and you jump right as they stomp and use your movement ability, it'll let you, what is the word? It'll let you carry that momentum towards a leap. And it's super useful when you're trying to use movement to your advantage. But it's also super not helpful when you are trying to do literally anything else. This Spider Walker is now dead. Now be careful of these snipers, they do hurt quite a lot. We're gonna pop Invis. Sadly, this Vandal saw us right as we popped Invis. Somewhat of a time loss. I believe the Shanks that spawn there are Solar Shanks, which is kind of unfortunate. We're gonna switch to Solar right as we're falling. If I'm wrong on my guess, that is a-okay, because Hardlight will still burn through those shields quite fast. If you're a Warlock, when you're doing the Heroic solo, I would recommend that you use Top Tree Dawnblade and do the spreadsheets yourself. Spreadsheets are super fast. If you're fast enough, you can get more time on your timer. Keep in mind, that does require you to be fast enough. Now that we've killed that Spider Walker, we're going to switch back to our Fallen Armaments. This is all about fast swapping, really. If you're on a Warlock, it's way easier. You don't actually need to do all this complicated swapping, because Warlocks could just have Well of Radiance. And Well of Radiance really just doesn't care about how you feel. These are Arc Shanks, so thankfully I was already on that element. We're gonna kill these snipers. We got a heavy ammo drop, which is a really nice thing. There's my Hardlight masterwork done. I won't pop that until we're done with this challenge, obviously, because that would just be cheating. I'll hurt this boss a little bit more. We should summon a few more adds in a second. But seeing as we were able to throw a tether on him, we're going to hurt him a bit more. You can see how we're very much one-shot. We're going to get the hell out now so we can regen. Now this boss is in critical HP. This is where the run is basically locked in. We're going to wait for him to summon one more wave of adds, and we're going to kill any invisible marauders. If any of those marauders are alive by the time you finish the boss, you will need to hunt them down to finish the run. Funnily enough, the boss doesn't seem to be spawning any more adds, so we're just going to go ahead and murder him, and that is 0 hours, 2 minutes remaining. Just a hard light and falling guillotine. On normal mode. Up next, we're going to do a heroic, which is currently Solar Singe for the week. We're just going to let these adds despawn. Obviously, you don't see me get a reward because I've already finished everything to do with 0 hour. But now we're going to head into the heroic difficulty. Alright, now we're going to head into the heroic 0 hour, currently the Solar Singe. So, I'm going to need to get a picture out from my Discord. Personally, you can just look it up, 0 hour vault password. That'll give you the pattern that you need to walk through. And we're not going to be doing spreadsheets because that takes far too long on a Hunter, and it just isn't worth it on Hunter. So once again, the loadout stays the same. Tether with Stompies, Hard Light, Falling Guillotine. Once again, I'm going to try and avoid using Dire Promise. I only fired it twice last run, and that's because it's on Instinct. This is also without any boss resist, minor resist, or major resist, along with concussive dampener, just Fallen Barrier. If you don't have Fallen Barrier, you're not too big of a loss for it, you just need to play it a lot more carefully than I do. Seeing as this is the second run, I'm obviously going to have a way easier time doing it than the last run. But never be afraid to ask for help from friends if you want to do 0 hour, or if it's for a $20 bet. Just make sure you have it all in your, all under control, you know? You want to make sure you have everything under control. Because if you don't have anything under control, how are you supposed to do this solo? I would grab key cards, but since we're not doing the clocks, or the spreadsheets as I call it, we don't really need to grab the key cards. So we're just going to continue on. Obviously, if you watch Vlad or anyone from Team Redeem solo this, it's going to look like a cakewalk, but because I'm not from Team Redeem, I feel like I'm a way better example on how you should be doing this. Because anyone can have Falling Guillotine in the hard light. Taken there, Fallen Barrier, it might be a bit of a grind, but I'm sure you guys could find a Scourge of the Past LFG on the Discord, on the Destiny 2 LFG Discord, or you can find it on the Bungie.net website, because unexpectedly, Bungie.net website LFG does work occasionally. Only occasionally though, don't trust it too much. We're gonna switch to the solar element, just to break this heavy shank's shield. Apparently he shot us, but that's a-okay. I do have one cloak with Lucid Blade on it, but honestly it just isn't worth it to switch to it. Well, while we're running back to this shank, we're gonna switch back to the solar element and try this again. That went much better. We're going to kill these snipers because they do hurt quite a bit. Keep in mind, when it comes to hardlight, if you are a master of ricocheting hardlight shots, your ricochet shots will do more damage if they hit after ricochet. They're not as insane as they used to be, but still, if you can ricochet, you should ricochet at all costs. Once again, we've cleared out the second room. We're moving on to the Spider Walkers. We're going to do it again. We're going to kill the Shanks, then knock out the Vandals, and hopefully in between there kill the Servitors on the top side. After that, we'll work on the Snipers, kill the remaining Shanks, and then tether the boss. Sorry, tether the Spider Walker. And that'll be a-okay. We're going to kill this Tracer Shank just because it's super close to us. Really, it should have respected us being on the high ground. Thankfully, Hardlight for this challenge is actually way better than you'd think it would be. The only other thing that I really obviously recommend using would be Risk Runner. Risk Runner is a top tier option. There's just no better options. Except from, I don't know, maybe Trinity Duel if you like it. Because Trinity Duel did get his Catalyst a while ago, which made it super good at just about everything. Except for boss battle. As a challenge run, this is really unscripted though, so I obviously am just coming up with things to talk about on the fly while we're running this. We're not going to waste another Sword Swipe on this Marauder, because heavy ammo economy is very important in this game. Make sure we're lasering these Vandals. Even if one Vandal survives, that's a-okay if he falls down, because we'll clean him up with the Shanks. Obviously, you want to use cover to your best advantage. If that Spider Walker can see you, that is not a place you want to be. See, as you can see, I got pretty much almost killed by the Spider Walker there. If I didn't have Fallen Barrier, I probably would have died. We're gonna switch to Orpheus rigs real quick here, just for the sake of getting our super back. Honestly, it won't matter in this part of the run, but it's always good to be cautious. I think I left one shank alive, looking at that shot that just steered right past my face. We'll clean him up in a minute. We want to finish off the Spider Walker. We broke its legs. We're gonna kill this Vandal. Left alive. Just barely. If you're on console, don't ever try that shot. The recoil from Hardlight just isn't worth dealing with against that. While the Spider Walker is exploding, we're gonna switch boost back to Stompies. We're gonna throw down a grenade so we can get more sword. And right-click this captain. Because we didn't die against the Spider Walker, we kept our solar element so we can break that Shank's shield way faster. And because it's Solar Singe, it's just more beneficial for us to have the solar element like that. Unfortunately, I think something stayed alive in that first room, which is just under a little bit of a speed loss, but we can always clean it up in a second here. The door did close, so we are a-okay to keep going. As you can see, I kept looking at the door to see if it would open. That door will not open if everything else is still alive. I am unsure if you can just murder the Shank to get there, but I think it's better safe than sorry to just murder everything. Because we still have Solar Singe Hardlight, this drag will die a lot faster. Now we're going to sword this drag, just like we did last run. This Marauders are really tanky, so I would sword swipe them. Murder the Vandal with our Hardlight superiority. Because, just like in Trials of Osiris, snipers are useless against Hardlight. Make sure we finish everything else off. Keep in mind, I still haven't turned in my Hardlight Catalyst. I still have not turned it in. Didn't apply it, nothing. This is without the Hardlight Catalyst. And you probably don't lose much from not having a Falling Guillotine that's Masterwork. Maybe a little bit of damage due to the fact that it won't have an impact buff. We're gonna sword block there, just so we don't need a double jump for the speed. Because it's heroic difficulty, we need to take a side route to get to the final boss and to get to fans. Personally, heroic's a lot more dangerous, but hey, you know, it happens. Don't shoot the Ventless Dire Promise, because this is a challenge run. Mash the jump button. Now, the correct lever will be right here if you look. This is the only one you really need to pull. You don't need to pull the other ones. Unless you want to bait your fire team, which is ultimately hilarious when you do. Because we have Stompies, we can skip a few jumps. This one, I believe you cannot skip any jumps with Stompies. You can trust your mantle occasionally. Do not press jump after you mantle. It's also just safer if you don't try and skip a jump, but you know, if you feel ballsy, go ahead and do it. Remember to use dodge as much as you can when you're going through the vents, or whatever you can use. Maybe even a jump macro if you have it. Dodge will get you through the vents much faster than crouch walking through it, so ultimately it's just more useful. I hug the right wall just because it feels cooler. I pulled that lever out of instinct because of how many people I helped with Heroic 0 Hour. Anyways, now we're onto the wall. The wall is very painful for a lot of players. Personally, I just like running through it, but whatever works for you, you know? Now, I recommend you take your time when you're doing these first few jumps, you know, get a hang of it. Now, I only recommend you do this if you're the first person there to the wall. You can just jump on all those pipes and ignore it. Now, we're going to wait for this rotation of the moving platforms. On this rotation, you can jump across with Stompies, and land on this one. Jump up here. Go through the opening in the wall, and now you're clear to go through the vents. Now for this one, I don't actually budge my head against the wall, because you do need to have enough momentum to get through it. So I double jump, only once. Any more, you'll probably end up face-fucking that door, which is not cash money. Now we're going into the fan room. Keep in mind there is a vent here. We're gonna reload our hardlight while we're going down the vans, just because there's no real big deal. Better safe than sorry when you're going down these fans, because they can honestly hurt your run a lot more than you think. You can bounce against the wall here if you don't want to use a double jump, or if you're out of double jumps. I know that probably gave a few of you anxiety, but who cares? Fun fact, if you die on this part, when you're jumping against these... Oh, I got error coded. So we're going to have to do the run all over again. Unfortunate, but it happens. Don't be mad if this happens to you. Just do it all over again. Unless you're on your 30th try, in which case you are A-okay to get mad at the game. Because sometimes stupid things happen. And you can't control that. Okay, so I'm just going to show you the run all over again, just so we can make sure that I don't cheat in this part of the run. Because, you know, coming it back, going to where we started, I feel like that's not worth it. We're just going to do just like we did. Go straight back into it. Obviously, I'm going to change back to Nightstalker. It's A-okay, because I forgot to switch back to it in the middle of it. That was like a 5-second time loss. Won't be too big of a deal in the long run, personally, unless you're cutting it close. I don't think you should be cutting that close, though. If you're at 5 seconds remaining against the boss, you probably already aren't going to finish it. I'm going to be honest. Just because how the boss works, it takes a few seconds to really finish it. Because I switched subclass just as I loaded in, obviously I'm not going to have my grenade, which is slightly unfortunate, but we can work this out. We just got a right click off cooldown as soon as we hit that hit that captain, which is perfect in my opinion. Now we're going to change this run just a little bit up. We're going to kill these bottom shanks first, and then we're going to move on to Eververse to kill the snipers. All the snipers. All the snipers will die here, except for maybe the punks in the back. This is called adapting. A lot of Crucible players don't tend to do this. That shank is just falling through the world, honestly. I'm just going to leave it alone until it gets his life together. Now that we are on the solar element, we're going to do a lot more damage. We're going to finish off the shank just because I don't want to forget about it and be confused. Thankfully, a right click came off cooldown. We almost died to that shank, so that is A-okay, because we didn't. Keep in mind, Risk Runner usually makes you avoid all these risky stuff, but because it's a hard light falling guillotine challenge, we're just going to go with it. Because Taken Barrier with, sorry, not Taken Barrier, Fallen Barrier with the Risk Runner, and any major and minor resist usually makes you a walking god. So personally, you should just have major and minor resist on, if you're going to try it solo at least, if you don't have Fallen Barrier. Or if you have Anarchy, that's a perfectly acceptable option in any situation whatsoever. Anarchy should just never leave your inventory slot. Same with Mountaintop. Mountaintop is just super good. Unfortunately, we die there, but that gives us time to switch to Orpheus Rings. We died with a really good checkpoint, personally. We're going to switch back slowly to our solar element. We're going to go invis so we can sneakily swipe these servitors. Keep in mind, Whirlwind Blade is a wonderful option in this situation. You can kill the servitor with one left click, because it was low enough to be finisherable, so the second you shield break it, it should die. Obviously respect the Vandals and their damage. You don't ever want to not respect them, because if you're doing a Grandmaster, they will probably fuck you in the asshole. You want to make sure you stay calm even when you're at low HP, just because if you don't stay calm, you're going to do some really risky stuff that may end up getting you killed. And to be honest, death is not a preferable alternative to surviving in 0 hour. I see that we've run out of heavy, which is minorly unfortunate. We can still shield break the servitor though. We're going to throw a grenade at it, and it should probably die in the next few seconds. Hopefully to the grenade. Perfect. And it dropped heavy ammo, so now we have even more heavy ammo to murder the rest of his family with. Thankfully we killed 2 legs in that part, so now we can switch off the Orpheus rays onto Stompies. As you can see, this run is filled with a lot more deaths just because of one missed repair. But the Spider Walker is at half HP. It should be a-okay to kill. Keep an eye on his HP by maneuvering your camera to be able to see it. And we continue on. Fortunately, no heavy ammo on this part. That is okay. We're just gonna have to sword swipe just about everything. You should always keep an eye on your heavy ammo just so you don't get caught off guard with it. Just like how I did when I went against that servitor. You really just want to be careful. Saying better safe than sorry is usually a good testament to how to play this game. Particularly with the new endgame stuff for the Grandmaster. You never want to risk anything. As you can see, we are pretty low on heavy ammo. That's okay, because we're not going to need it for a while. All we're going to need is our Dire Promise and maybe 1 to 2 sword swipes. If even that. Now that we have our grenade off cooldown, we can use our fallen armaments to its best advantage. Not against this Taken Marauder, though. This Marauder should still die to your sword swipe. This Vandal has avoided us, so he's going to make us use our trump card, the sword swipe. And you know what, might as well just go sword swipe crazy for a bit. Now we switch on to Arcstrider, and we continue on. You should, if you're a Warlock, you should take that second to switch to your top tree Dawnblade, because when you get to the elevator, you should be able to switch to your Well of Radiance in time. If you're a Titan, you can switch to your Dune Marchers if you don't already have them on. Because honestly, why wouldn't you already have Dune Marchers on? Or for some Titans, you can use Lion Rampants, whichever one's more comfortable for mobility for you. Hunters should always just have Stompies. You never want to be caught off guard with them. We're going to reload our Hardlight just so it's ready for any more vents, because vents are Hardlight's enemy. And yours, if you're using Hardlight. Now obviously we're going to have a little bit less time than we did when we took on the boss, but considering we killed the normal mode boss with 2 minutes remaining, it shouldn't be too big a deal. So I'm sure it will give anxiety to how many people, to how much time I have. But you know what, we'll be a-okay most likely. If you have good memory, you'll probably remember where all the vents are. I don't, so I'm just going to wing it, pull out my Hardlight whenever I feel like there's going to be a vent, and we're just going to leave it at that. Now we're back onto the wall. Obviously, this won't be any more difficult than when we did it the first time around. Obviously, if you're not comfortable with jumping, or if you're just not good at jumping, you should not be trying this route. Take whatever route is safest for you. This route just happens to be super safe. For me. Unfortunately, we missed this rotation, so if you really wanted to, you could say fuck it and run across, but since we're already here, we might as well just take the time to take a second, grab our bearings, take a deep breath, maybe take a sip of your water. In my case, I grabbed a Monster Energy. Whether or not that's influencing how fast I talk, that's not what I'll say. Now we have a vent coming up here. I've always tried to trick throw Throwing Knife this whenever I come into 0 hour with friends. Unfortunately, because I'm here for a solo, we will not be doing that. Another vent here. We can save this by a sword swipe because we almost fell off the map. That's a super unlucky bounce, but we can save it with another bounce. I'm sure you're wondering, hi, why the hell are you even doing this challenge? Well, I woke up at noon, as I normally do. I checked my Discord on my phone, because I didn't get any notifications in the night. I checked my phone, I see I've been pinged twice in Discord for my clan. So I check it, and it's like, my clanmate, Angel, Liz. she asked, Ty, could you do are you able to do solo 0 hour with hard light and the falling guillotine? And I thought for a second, that's only a second, you don't need to think longer than that. And I thought, yeah, you probably could. So then it brought into my idea, well, why don't I just make a video out of it, you know? You know, 0 hour is already a joke for a lot of players because they watch Redeem. But what about this guy who's kind of a no-name? Probably never seen me play Destiny.
Who?
No-name Destiny guy. Don't worry about it. So, now we're back onto Trevor. We're a few seconds behind where we were on the normal mode run for the Hardlight and Falling Guillotine. Honestly, it won't be too big of a deal, as I've been reassuring you throughout this entire video, because you should never be anxious when you're playing 0 hour. Because if you are, you're obviously going to make mistakes. So stop that. Don't make mistakes.
Stop that. Get some help.
Stop. Just don't.
As you may have noticed for my speedrunning couch of this solo 0 hour heroic challenge, I have my clan.
That was the cue for us to speak, I think, to find.
Oh, sorry.
Doesn't really matter.
Anyway, I'm here vibing now.
What happened to Colin?
Background commentary for the video, obviously.
Yeah,
That was why I'm here. Zach got
Angie.
Angie. Yeah, I was thinking of the word say. Now I've just typed O into that.
So keep in mind, no matter how much time you've lost when you go into Trevor, his rotation will always be the same as long as you're the first person into the room. Trevor is not technically loaded in and on a rotation until you are here in his room. So as everyone leaves the room, it'll reset the room entirely and you're up for a fresh rotation. So if you're the last person super far behind, you should be a-okay. You can see we were a little bit faster on this run in terms of going through Trevor's room, which is why we saw him as we were going to exit. Now right here, I will do what I'm going to tell you not to do, and that is to alt-tab when you're on the elevator. The elevator, if you alt-tab and go from like 144 FPS to 30, can kill you. The same thing goes when you're on the Pit of Heresy elevators in the first encounter. If you alt-tab while you're on them, they have just about a 90% chance of killing you. Good thing console players don't have that problem, huh? Bonk our head on this part. You can only really need to bonk it once, dodge so we can fix ourselves. And we have the Dire Promise out once again, for mobility's sake. So as you can see, with even a few mistakes, we're at 7.5 minutes when we're gonna get to the boss room. I currently have the picture on my second monitor. If you have this memorized, that's great for you. That's even more time efficient in my opinion. But honestly, there's a lot of stuff you can do while you're on the elevator. You could probably go make a quick sandwich. Probably not. Maybe if the elevator was slow enough.
Honestly, you could probably just finish college while you're at it.
Yeah, just finish college.
Settle down, get a family, you know.
And that elevator will still be going.
Yeah.
But
And then once you're on
we don't
your
have time for that.
deathbed.
Once again, wait 5 seconds for the respawn, check all your armor, make sure you're all set for your stuff. Hop on in. We still kept the Stompies on when we went into that menu, just for the sake of our Stompies have enhanced Sword Scavenger, and we don't really want to take that off. My Orpheus Rex doesn't, which is kind of an oversight by me, but like, who really cares? So obviously you see me miss this turret. If you have Wristbreaker, that turret will hurt you a lot less. Which is, again, why I tell you to run this challenge with the Wristbreaker and not the Hardlight. But here I am running it anyways. Throw an Intimidation Smoke at the enemy. Hopefully catch
Obviously,
a
a
few
fair
others.
intimidation factor not to be useful or anything.
Pop invis when you're gonna go meet that turret, because that turret will probably fuck you up. Make sure you aim your right click properly at it, and now it's time for the hard part. We're gonna switch our Hardlight to Void to be ready for the Servitor. Do a few hits, and run the hell away, or die. That is a-okay. We are still gonna be reset back to the Void. While we're dead, don't switch to Lucky Pants as you saw me just do. Switch to your Orpheus Rigs. Even though you aren't even close to your Orpheus Rigs, that is a-okay. Because you will get it eventually. Hurt the shanks that don't get a part of the shield, if there are none, good luck with that. hide from the shanks if you need to. Wait until you can hurt those shanks that aren't in the shield. And then slowly kill the server. While we're invis, I'm going to switch to Oppressive Darkness so I can kill this servitor faster. Every time you stagger the servitor, he will momentarily drop the shield on the shanks. That's your moment to kill. Now that we're back to invisible, I'm switching back to Fallen Armaments for the sake of getting sword ammo later. Thankfully, the heavy ammo dropped from one of the shanks, which is perfect in my opinion. Because with our enhanced sword scavenger, which is not currently on because we have Orpheus moves, it will be a-okay. Now that we've killed the Void Shanks, we're going to switch to Arc Element and kill the Arc Shanks. Only one set of Arc Shanks should be protected by the boss. As you can see, this run is a lot like our normal mode run. Apparently I hurt the boss just enough to the point where he can summon his ads, which is kind of unfortunate. But also, we kind of don't care. Once again, my major rule of thumb is don't sword a servitor until you're sure he's going to die. As you can see, we're basically one-shot. So is the servitor. We're going to switch to Arc Element on our hard light. Now personally, if I were you, I would have, in that downtime, because you have tons of downtime for this, I would have switched to Oppressive Darkness to kill these tanks better. But obviously, because I'm not smart, we're just going to kill this tank the old-fashioned way, with a sword. I'm going to kill that Fallen Walker. And because we already killed one Fallen Walker, we're going to throw a grenade at one of the snipers so we can get more sword ammo. Because we still have our Fallen Armaments on. Let's throw it at that Marauder. Unfortunately, he's going to back away. So, oh well, he still dropped heavy ammo, which is super good for us. Not super good for the boss, or the Spider Walker. We're going to throw a smoke bomb to intimidate it, break its leg before it can slam the ground, and then hide away from all the other ads. Go invis to recover some HP. You can really just wait until the Spider Walker comes back because the sword just does not like attacking the Spider Walker. Watch out for the Rebel that apparently can block your shots. And now we're a-okay to kill the boss. I'm gonna pop a tether down just so we can get a lot of the enemy with splash damage. Kill the shanks, really, because they're a pain in the butt. That's unfortunate, but a-okay, because now we can switch to Oppressive Darkness. At this point, we don't need to worry about our heavy ammo conservation, except if you have 12 sword shots remaining. But you know what? Things happen. Try to Oppressive Darkness as that Vandal, because you don't have taken armaments on anymore. Now be ready to 1v1 this boss and his remaining HP. Now we're out of sword ammo, so Ty, you're probably wondering, Ty, what the hell are you gonna do? Well, apparently we got a Vandal to drop some sword ammo, so we don't have that problem anymore. This should really be seen as a demo run to show you what Hardlight and Fallen Guillotine can do, what is probably the proper situation you should be doing these things in, and target priority. You always want to be good on heavy ammo if you're doing 2 weapons only, especially if you only have 1 heavy and 1 kinetic, only 1 primary weapon. But just remember to always keep an eye on ammo around the area, and make sure you grab it before the boss can boop it away. So that's the last thing you want to have happen, is to lose your sword ammo. As you can see, we are a whole 1 minute behind our normal mode run, but we had a few mistakes. Unfortunately, he summoned another wave of ads, so we're gonna have to clean those up after we kill the boss. Honestly, not too big of a time loss, but you know, if you die there, that'll probably be 50 seconds remaining, but that's 0 hours, 52 seconds remaining, with only Hard Light and Fallen Guillotine. That's the question answered.